there we are, Confederate States of America. As I promised, this was indeed a fascist USA guide, and now it's time to end the war against Germany. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Just a couple of weeks ago I shared with you my guide for Democratic USA. It was a lot of fun and we achieved an insane level of power. So what could make it even better? How can we make America great again? Well, by being fascist, of course. Imagine putting together the incredible economic and military potential of the USA and the expansion potential of the fascist ideology. Now, there are several ways of becoming fascist as the USA, but the one I'm going to share with you is by far the easiest and the most efficient one. If that sounds interesting, then this is the right video for you. Now, before we start, let me just say a couple of things. If you followed my Democratic USA guide, I will also include a link in the description of the video. A lot of this video will look familiar. The two strategies are overall very similar, but there are some important differences. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask. You can do so in the comment section, but I would also recommend joining our Discord to meet our amazing community. Also remember that I always upload the unedited version for my guides. You can find it in the description of the video together with the focus and research priorities. Finally, if you have been following the channel and enjoying my content, please do not forget to leave a like and subscribe. It will really help the channel grow faster, meaning I will be able to dedicate more time to it and make more content for you guys. Now, that's really all for the introduction, so let's make America great again. Okay, so you will find the researches and focuses in the description of the video, so I will not mention them in the guide itself. But keep in mind that for the earlier researches, these ones don't require it, but the last one does. We do not pick the MIO, because we want to save as much political power as possible early in the game. So we go for research without MIO. And for the same reason, we are not going to pick any national focus at the moment. We need to save political power. The first focus we are going to pick is re-establish the gold standard, but for this we need the Republicans to rule the country, so we need to wait until the first election, because in HOI4 to become fascist as the United States you need to vote Republican. No reference to the current situation, of course. Now, in terms of civilian factories, what we're going to do is we are going to build infrastructures and then military factories in Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Louisiana. Infrastructures first, and then you go for military factories in the same places. For what concerns the military production, we go for a total of 5 to support equipment, infantry equipment, sorry, and 3 support equipment, 1 towed artillery, and then we add the production of 1 train and we remove the planes instead. For what concerns the navy, you can do as you prefer, but what I do is I reduce first of all of them to only 1 dockyard. I make the cruiser hull and the early destroyer hull, one of them infinite production. Decrease the priority to minimum. I decrease the priority to the minimum for chromium ships as well, and then I increase the dockyards for the other ones to max. It's not the best way to manage the navy, but it's the easiest, so for me this is enough. And you leave the last ones, the chromium ships, without dockyards assigned. Now we're going to make some changes, but first of all we want to recruit 27 infantry divisions. We can deploy them in Washington, only 1 army of 27, and then we're going to decommission the Garrison Brigade and the National Guard Division, because we're not going to use them. And we're going to select our new divisions. We are going to change our old divisions, and we're going to change them all to infantry divisions. Then we're going to split them, and we're going to create 2 separate armies with 1 marshal. The marshal is going to be Douglas MacArthur, and the 2 generals are going to be Omar Bradley and Mark Clark. We can give them a full back line in this highly developed area so that they don't suffer from attrition while they constantly train. We're going to press here, not with shift, because we want them to train forever and build some army experience. See, since we cannot go at war early with the United States, we need to compensate by building army experience with constant training. And we're basically going to do the same thing for our navies. I'm also gathering all of them and train all of them. Again, constant training. Mind that we will run out of fuel, and we will stay without fuel for the first part of the run. It doesn't matter. You could build infrastructures in Texas if you wanted to avoid that. But we don't really care that much. the fuel will be important later on in the game, and we will have it later in the game. It's just to keep it easy that we train the Navy right now. We're going to do the same thing for planes, so we gather all of the planes which are not carrier planes. We're going to send them here, and we constantly train them to build some air experience as well. We can start the game at speed 5. There isn't that much that we need to do early in the game. We are going to need to wait until we get 150 political power for the first decision. Okay, 150 political power. The first advisor we are going to pick is the financial expert. Minus 15% consumer good factories is huge as the United States, so that's our first choice. There we go, we got 3 military factories, so we're going to change our production a little bit. We bring the infantry equipment to 10, the support equipment to 5, artillery to 5, and then we also add anti-air and we set it to 2. Okay, we got 3 dockyards, and when we get 3 dockyards, we are going to start making convoys, and we're also going to add the new ships that we built to the training ones. Okay, 150 political power, it's time to pick our second advisor. It's going to be the silent workhorse, to make it a bit easier to gather political power. Okay, it is November 1936, it is time for the first elections. And since we want to make America great again, we need to vote Republican. By the way, notice how the Democratic Party will now be called the Republican Party. It's not like there is another party. It's the Democratic Party which is now called the Republican Party. I love it. The people have spoken. Now, what this means is we can pick our first focus. So we go for re-establish the gold standard. We're also going to pick the Army Offense Expert to build more army experience. We're going to start building infrastructures in all of the 80% provinces up here and here. And then we're going to start picking small lobbying effort on cooldown. There is a bit of RNG with what happens with the Congress, so it's very important that we do not forget it and we start doing it right away, because we want to have the majority in the Congress for some of the focuses we're going to pick next. Okay, after the elections, from time to time you will get these missions. They will ask you to build something, usually military factories or infrastructures or civilian factories. Always accept them and always prioritize them. So in this case, they want us to build military factories, one military factory in North Carolina, and we're going to do that right away. And highest priority to it. This will help keeping the majority. Now, when you need to pick this focus, you need a majority of 49 senators, and as you can see, we barely have it. It should be fairly safe, but if you need to wait for one more small lobbying effort, do so. We absolutely need to pick this focus. So here is the priority for what concerns the infantry equipment MIOs, and from now on we can also pick the MIOs for our researches. Okay, when you get 3 military factories, it is time to increase the production of infantry equipment to 25. We can also pick the relief of command spirit. We are going to build more military factories in all of the 100% provinces and also in the 80% provinces. Make sure to prioritize the ones which were already being built, like in this case. And then we are going to use some of these Navy experience which we are about to cap to pick all of the Marine doctrines. And we're going to pick the right branch here for naval invasions. So this is the final selection for Marines doctrines. By the way, we're still picking on cooldown small lobbying effort. I will mention it again when we stop. Okay, we can pick this focus, which is the one that requires the highest majority in the Senate. So we are fine for now. Which also means we can stop the small lobbying effort at this point. At 150 political power, we are also going to pick the last advisor, and it's going to be the fascist demagogue. And here is the priority for MIOs in terms of artillery. For the new army, we are going to use William Simpson. And at 25 political power, we can pick amend the budget. Okay, on 3 civilian or military factories, this tends to vary a little bit. We are going to build more military factories in all of the 100% provinces, or states I should say, in the case of the United States of course. And we are going to prioritize the ones which were already being built. It is also time to design some planes. We are going for basic small airframes only. And despite the fact that we have access to heavy machine guns, since we can only equip 2 of them, it's better to use light machine guns in my opinion, even for these early designs. So this is our early fighter design, the one that I would suggest making. The turret is up to you, doesn't make a big difference in either way. I would suggest selecting the auto upgrade option down here, however, this is quite important. In terms of MIO, we go for North American Aviation, and we can save it. Let's also design our early CAS. For the early CAS, we go for something like these. Again, auto upgrade and save. It's time to also start producing them. We're going to produce 6 or better. We're going to dedicate the next 6 factories to F1, 3 factories to C1, and we're also going to start producing some trucks. We're going to assign 6 future factories to them. We're also going to adjust trade, because soon we are going to need to import some rubber, so it's better if we get a notification for that. So we're going to import some chromium. And we're also going to stop constantly training the army, because it burns through equipment. So we're going to shift click on them from now on. So we still want to train them, but only up to regular, and then they will stop automatically. And in just a few days, we should also design our new tanks. It's time to do so. Before you do so, I suggest you pick the first MIO, the one that increases the speed. As for the other ones, I would suggest these priority. As for the design itself, we're going to use basic medium tanks, and this is the design I suggest using. Pay attention to the fact that we're using Christie suspensions down here. It's fundamental to increase the speed high enough. And then this is a medium howitzer, radio, the heavy machine guns, the wet ammunition storage, and a total of 9 in engine and 2 in armor, with the auto upgrade selected. Reliability is a bit low at the moment, but it will increase by the time we get to World War II, thanks to the MIO, so do not worry about that. Of course, we need to start producing this T1 as well. We're going to assign to it all future factories, but we keep it at the lowest possible priority, so under the planes and the trucks, and then we reduce the production of infantry equipment to 15. We're also going to start training the new ships that we built in the meantime, and we're also going to start picking the naval doctrines, otherwise we'll cap the navy experience. I would suggest switching from base strike to fleet in being. I prefer this one, but it's up to you. And then you can just unlock all of them. I prioritize getting to the last one here, but overall you can unlock everything in here. And now we need to import some rubber. At this point, we're also going to force deploy everything. We're going to assign these troops to the army that we have in here. We're going to start recruiting another 9 infantry divisions and 24 marine divisions. At 150 political power, we are going to pick free trade again. We already had free trade, but one of the focuses reduces it to export focus. Now this is going to be a bit controversial because some people don't like free trade. I personally don't like free trade very much, but as the United States, I think these buffs really scale to a power level which is quite insane. So I think free trade is actually worth it. Besides, we don't have that much to do with this political power at the moment, so this is the only choice that will increase our level of power in terms of economy and production. So we're going to pick free trade. Now we got some particularly bad RNG in terms of the Congress, and we went down all the way to 58 senators. Luckily, it's enough to pick the Selective Training Act. Usually this is not a problem, and I think I had the worst possible RNG at the moment, and still it is possible to pick it. After you pick this one, you will be fine. It's also time to start making our Marines army, and for the Marines I usually go for Maurice Rose. Just because he has a lot of attack, but some other generals are totally fine too. Okay, at 100 political power, we are going to pick the Night Operations Advisor. And we're also going to start designing our armored divisions. This is going to be very expensive in terms of army experience. Luckily, we can afford it. Now, I like going for a combat width of 35 with my armored divisions. This is a very, very solid design. As I said, it's quite expensive. It's going to be even more expensive because later on we are going to add the logistics company and medium flame tank company. Other than that, pay attention to the fact that we are using pioneers and not the regular engineers. Pioneers are better if you get all of the Marines doctrines. Okay, after saving this template, we're also going to start producing or recruiting them, and we're going to recruit 12 armored divisions. Okay, when we get free civilian factories, We're going to build infrastructures and then military factories, as usual, in South Carolina, Indiana, Missouri, Texas, California, Oklahoma, and Mississippi. So in the end, the construction list should look something like this. Next, we're going to wait for amend the budget to be available again. Now, it's not particularly important, but I was a bit unlucky with the RNG of the Congress, so we don't have the majority in the House. You can use a couple of small lobbying effort if you want to be able to pick research grants and amend the budgets when they become available. I wouldn't use more than a couple. It's not particularly important to get research grants and amend the budget. We have been very unlucky with the Congress in this run. That's okay. Okay, with a couple of small lobbying effort, we were able to unlock amend the budget and research grants. So let's go on and pick them. And at this point, we're also going to pick the new naval doctrines. Otherwise, we'll cap the Navy experience. And we're going to start training the new ships that we built. Next, we need to wait for the plane researches to finish. Now, in terms of the fighters MIO or the range-oriented MIO, in any case, I suggest this priority. As for what concerns the motorized MIO, I would suggest this priority. Okay, we got a mission for Kentucky, so to build the infrastructures, we're going to do that. And now I need to find Kentucky. Oh, nice. Okay. We still prioritize the missions for basically the rest of the run. Okay, we can start forming our armored army, and we are going to use General Patton for it. And of course we want to train them. Okay, as soon as we complete this research, it's time to design our F2 and C2 fighters and CAS. For the F2 fighter, we're going with my usual extremely solid design, which is this one. By the way, I suggest you change the planes you already have rather than creating new ones. It is much cheaper to do so. And for the C2, we're going to use this design. We also need to start making some flame tanks. For that, we're going to use the basic medium tank chassis. And we're going with this design. Now, these modules are optional. You can remove them if you want to make it a bit cheaper, but I actually like having them. Some extra fuel will be very nice in our armored divisions. We're also going to force deploy all of the tanks which are not deployed yet, and we need to make some adjustments to our divisions. Let's start with the infantry. We only add the support anti-air, so this is an easy change. For what concerns the armored divisions, as I was mentioning earlier, we're going to add the logistics and the medium flame tank company. For what concerns Marines, we need to make a few changes. The final template we're going to use for Marines is this one. So we bring the combat width to 30 with 4 artillery battalions. And then we use Pioneers, of course, and we use the cavalry break and detachment, and again the medium flame tanks because of the amazing buffs they give to river crossing and amphibious. We also need to make some changes in terms of the production. So we want to bring the production of C2 to 5, flame tanks also to 5. T1, we are going to upgrade it, and then we are going, upgrade the MIO here. And then we're going to bring its production to 25, down to 25. And then we lower the priority for the F2 planes, but all future factories will go to the F2. So this should be the new priority in terms of production. We're also going to train the new ships. We're going to pick some of the doctrines. We need to adjust trade since we are now producing different things. And we need to make sure that everyone is training. You may need to wait for a couple of days for example, the Marines to realize that now they have a lot more battalions in there. So, okay, when they do this, you start training everything again. You shift click, and then we're also going to assign all new planes, and we are going to train them too. Okay, World War II is starting, so it's almost time for some action, finally. But it is not starting yet for us, unfortunately. Because in order to join the Allies, we need the war tension to be at 100%. For now, we are going to prepare a little bit more. First of all, we're going to use some of this political power to pick the superior firepower expert, the infantry expert, the army logistics expert, and the tactical bombing expert. We're also going to pick radio propaganda, We are going to pick the tactic, suppressive barrage, and smoke and fire, the spirit smoke and fire. We're going to get rid of this bad spirit for the navy. Which one to use instead is up to you. I will go for decisive battle. We're going to pick the aircrew surveys and the centralized control for the Air Force. And we're going to pick as many doctrines as possible. It's only one for the military, nothing for the navy, and for air doctrines it's going to be probably the first two. We're going to assign all traits to our army. This one is particularly important for General Patton. And the tactic as well. We're going to make sure that everybody is training with shift click. At this point we also want to train the navy, but only with shift click. So let's do that too. Same exact thing for the planes. Let's deploy new ones if we have any. That's not the case. And then shift click on the ones we already have. And for what concerns the cast MIO, I would suggest this priority. This time France is going down faster than usual. Okay, this message sometimes arrives a little bit earlier, sometimes a bit later. And whenever you get it, I would suggest you go for demand compensation. Japan will always accept. We get a nice 100 political power, which we're going to use right away to pick partial mobilization. And we finally get rid of this undisturbed isolation. So we're going to build full military factories in all of the 100% states. And also remember to always prioritize the ones which were already being built. Taking absolutely forever to get to 100% world tension. But okay, now the UK will accept us to join the faction regardless. That's great. So sometimes you can do it even a bit before you get to 100%. As soon as you can, join the Allies. And after joining the Allies, it is time to set up our troops for the invasion of Germany, or France. It's for D-Day. So let's stop the fallback line and let's start planning a naval invasion right away with our Marines. We go for groups of 4 and we go for the area of Normandy also to keep it a bit more historical. By the way, if you watch my Democratic USA guide, the strategy is going to be exactly the same in World War II, so you can probably skip it. Or skip to the end, because nothing new is going to happen here. But for everyone else, we're going to send all of our armies to the UK, including the infantry ones. I use fallback lines, I try to spread them around a little bit so they don't suffer too much from the lack of supplies. We also need to deploy and send all of our planes. We're going to send them first. You can see that these guys can get trained a bit more. And then we're going to deploy new ones in here as well. Train them too. And then we need to set up the fleet for these as well. And what I'm going to show you is the easiest way to do it. It's not necessarily the best way, but it is the easiest. So I'm going to split the navy into 2. I'm going to create a new theater. Assign a new admiral. And then simply we are going to keep one fleet all together in the area of the UK. They will support the naval invasion. And the other fleet, we split it in a balanced way by clicking on this icon. And then we set them on convoy escort in all of the areas in which we think we will need the convoy escort. Which should be more or less something like this. By the way, mind that we are not joining the war against Germany yet. We're going to wait for our divisions to be entirely in position, and then only after we're ready, we're going to join the war against Germany. We also need to build tier 5 railways connecting our capital of Washington to the harbor of Norfolk, because this is where, and also we prioritize this. This is the highest priority. Because our supplies to Europe apparently will come from here. So we want the supplies from the capital to Norfolk to be delivered in the most efficient possible way. Okay, I would say we are ready. So let's select all planes. Let's assign them on close air support and air superiority. And then I would recommend assigning them to the Marines so that they automatically deploy in the best possible way. We set our navy on naval invasion support. We save the game and we join officially World War II. Okay, we are ready. Let's go. Let's see how Germany is defending Normandy. This is D-Day. And they had quite a lot of time to prepare, but our marines are really amazing, so I'm pretty sure that we will disembark without too many issues. Okay, we already disembarked in here. See if we can get some early encirclement. We did destroy a few of their divisions. Now, if you already watched the Democratic Guide, you already know, but the strategy here is not to take Paris, but to take ideally these areas with the railways around Paris, so that we do not lack supplies. And then we are going to create a couple of encirclements, one in here and one in here to kill all of the German divisions. Then we're going to take Paris, which will recreate Free France. And then we're going to cut off all of the Germans' divisions in here by going directly to Switzerland. This is the first phase of the war. At this point, actually slightly earlier if you remember, you should also pick Execute War Plan Black, which will give us some amazing bonuses against the Germans. We're also going to pick War Bonds, because it's amazing. And we're going to change the production a little bit. We're going to produce more T1. First of all, we want to upgrade it to the latest MIO design. And then we bring the production to 50. And we decrease the production of F2. We assign to the F2 only the future factories after we get to 50 T1. Okay, at this point we can send down our tanks, but I wouldn't send too many divisions other than the tanks, otherwise we'll quickly run out of supplies. With tanks, our main priority is to create the first two encirclements. This is the most painful part of the war, also in terms of casualties. We usually get a fair amount of casualties in this phase. Actually, it went very well at the moment. 6k is very low. But we'll see by the end of the war, because sometimes we get stuck in here a little bit. Supplies will be the main issue at some point. Okay, we are decreasing in terms of supplies, so it's better to start our offensive with tanks before we run out of supplies completely. After you get this first encirclement, it will be much better. As you can see, we are proceeding quite well. Okay, at this point, we can send another defensive army to cover this front a bit better. I really hope they have some divisions in here, because otherwise this would be a very sad encirclement. Let's see. I guess it's better than nothing. Okay, let's close the second encirclement as well. And we can send down another defensive army for this front. I will actually send down all of them. Another one here is also fine. Why do they not have divisions in here? That's a bit sad. Okay, we finished encircling them on both sides. Now we're going to assign one defensive army to this front, to Vichy France. Especially to the lower part of Vichy France. Because after we take Paris, this will become France again, and the Germans will actually expand in there, because there are no divisions here. What we want to do is we want to prevent the Germans from reaching Italy. We want to keep them apart from each other. And then again, as I said, we will encircle the German divisions in here. So for that we need to get ready with our tanks. And we're going to send the tanks to the area of Paris. We're going to plan an offensive to cut off as much of the German divisions as possible. So something like this, and then from here we'll easily close down to Switzerland. And we actually have very low casualties at the moment. We need as much support as possible. This is not an easy push. This is possibly the most difficult push of the war. Germans have a lot of divisions in here now. Oh, something a bit strange happening here. Now usually Romania joins the Axis, but in this case apparently that did not happen. This is very rare, but sometimes it should really not happen on historical if you do not reload the game, which I didn't. Sometimes Germany and Hungary go to war with one another, which in this case means probably that Romania is in trouble. Shouldn't change much for us, to be honest. Oh yeah, by the way, I said we need to prevent Germany from reaching Italy, but I kind of forgot about it. So we need to create a fallback line with our defensive divisions in here to try to stop the Germans. When you get free civilian factories, you can build infrastructures and then military factories in all of the 80% or 60% actually or plus. So 80 and 60% provinces. Not our allies, by the way, only us. This is a phase in which we get, unfortunately, a lot of casualties because the Germans were a bit faster to push, so they caught our divisions down here. Usually they're a bit slower. Casualties are not the worst problem in our case. We have the manpower, and actually more casualties means a bit more war score, so it's not too bad. The good thing is that there are a lot of German divisions in here, so now they will suffer. Let Mexico join the Allies. It's going to be convenient for us a bit later. By the way, things are going as planned. The fact that Germans pushed a bit more in here actually means they have more divisions, so they will lose more divisions. We got a bit more casualties than usual, but that's okay. These are some big encirclements. That's a lot of German divisions in there. 34 divisions in this one. Not bad at all. And look at them exploding in there. Destroyed completely. Okay, let's see the casualties. 65,000. It's fairly high, but we also caused 1.7 million to the Germans, so I will not complain. Now it's time to take care of Italy. So we're going to use our tanks to quickly dispatch the Italians. Actually, they have more divisions than usual in here, but Italy is usually not a big problem. What we want to do is we want to cut off the Germans. We want to prevent them from helping their Italian ally. We need to go as soon as possible because we are going to run out of supplies very quickly up there. And of course we are pushing with the tanks in the mountains, but as you can see, they don't seem to care very much. No supplies, pushing in the mountains, that's okay. There is nothing our tanks cannot do. After taking Torino, things will be much easier in terms of supplies. Okay, when you get to basically the border of Italy, I would stop the offensive with the tanks in here, and I would send the tanks only to take the southern part of Italy. Something very difficult, but something like this. And we can use the defensive army to take care of this front that I will protect against the German divisions. And then we can simply push with tanks down here. Okay, when we finish this research, it means we can design our T2 tank, which will be like this. So this is probably our final tank for the rest of the run, unless we get to the very late game, which is unlikely. This is a very, very solid design. And we also need to change our flame tank, up to you whether you want to upgrade it or not as well. But we want to bring the engine to 11 to match the speed of our T2 tank. We're also going to start producing mechanized. We're going to assign all future factories to mechanized, and we're going to reduce the production of planes to 25 factories. Now, where is North Dakota? North Dakota is here. Yes. Okay, civil war in Italy. That's perfect. Yes, okay, so Italy is taken care of. Now we can start thinking about ending Germany. We're going to send our tanks back up here, and we're going to proceed with a couple of encirclements on this side before the Germans are completely broken. Okay, we're struggling a bit with supplies, but we got the planning. I think we can probably get this pushed down. Let's see. Okay, we got a very nice encirclement up here. We can destroy another huge amount of German divisions. After each push, they become much weaker. Already 2.4 million casualties caused by us. Let's go for another push. As you can see, the German resistance is becoming weaker and weaker every time. I think one more, and then they will basically have no more divisions to defend. Next push, we go all the way to Berlin, because they seem to be weak enough now for us to advance without problems. Also, we unlock the heavy bombs. We can redesign a bit our CAS by using heavy bomb blocks instead of the small bomb bays. They are slightly better, it's a very minor difference, but with the United States we can afford to make the change. We can also use the latest version of our T2. It's a bit annoying because in this case Germany took most of Denmark. Usually they don't, they just create a puppet here, so now we need to go all the way up there to end them. For the final push, we're going for something like this, although we still need to take Berlin before we do that. But then we will go for something like this, and then to actually end the war, we need to take Vienna. But there is something very important that we need to do before ending the war, so we'll talk about it in a bit. At this point, the Germans basically do not have divisions anymore, so you can just start rushing victory points. You can go for Munich, Innsbruck, Salzburg, and then Vienna. And the timing is perfect because at this point of the run, you might be wondering something. You might be wondering, well, wasn't this supposed to be a fascist USA guide? What's going on here? Because so far you are being democratic, you are in the Allies, and you are fighting Germany. So which part of this guide is fascist USA? Well, you're going to find out in just a few days, so let's wait and see what happens in November. And there we go. The best possible way to become fascist is by doing it democratically. So, elections, fascist majority. It is a black day for the United States, but the people have spoken. I'm so sad, but from now on, we're going to be fascist and there will not be public elections anymore. So this is the easiest way to make the United States fascist, by simply following the focus priority that I suggested, picking the advisors that I suggested. And look at this, we just have a 1% majority for the Silver Legion of America, which will guarantee that we win the elections, or better, the fascists win the elections in 1940. Now, if you go down the path of the Civil War, which is down here, you can become fascist a little bit earlier than that, but not much earlier than that. Usually you win the Civil War around late 1939, so maybe about 1 year before, if you don't cheese it, if you don't use weird strategies. And you cripple your economy by doing so. So in this way, we managed to become fascist in November 1940 without any struggle, without any civil war, and while keeping the amazing potential economic power of the United States. Now, I suggest doing this slightly before ending the war, but it doesn't overall make a big difference. The main difference from now on with my democratic guide is that we are going to annex the stuff that we want instead of puppeting it. In fact, after becoming fascist, we will not have the option to puppet them anymore. That's actually kind of unfortunate. So the best thing would be technically to puppet them with war reparations, but unfortunately after changing side, we cannot do that anymore. And I prefer to keep the war consistent. I mean, if you try to rush it, you can probably finish before the election and you can puppet them. But in any case, they will be democratic puppets if you finish the war before becoming fascist. So overall, I find it to be most consistent to become fascist, end the war, annex everything, and then release it as a puppet. In that way, we will get them as fascist puppets. Still, by this point of the run, being democratic would be slightly better, but from the next episode of the run, being fascist will give us a lot more options for future expansion. Now, after you become fascist, you still need to do some things. And the first thing we gain access to is some new decisions called Honor the Confederacy, and we're going to pick all of them. We saved the political power on purpose. It's going to be a total of 300 political power spent for all of these fascist decisions. They will give us several bonuses, mostly aimed to the war support and the stability, and also we are now the Confederate States of America, and we moved the capital from Washington to Richmond. We want to make sure that the new capital has full railways connecting it to both the naval base and the old capital, we never know. And yeah, there we are, Confederate States of America. As I promised, this was indeed a fascist USA guide. And now it's time to end the war against Germany. Okay, as usual, I would suggest making a save just before ending the war, just so that if you mess up the peace conference, you don't need to do everything again. Vienna is down, and so the war ends. Now, because of Romania, we have a slightly lower war score than usual. Usually we are at 75%. Also, I forgot to show you the final stats. That's sad. You wanted to annex everything which is a core of Germany, and you can check if it is a core by going over it with the mouse. As you can see down there, it says cores the German Reich. But for example, for Sudetenland, it says claims the German Reich cores Czechoslovakia. So we don't want stuff which is only claimed. We want stuff which is a core of Germany. So pay attention to that when you select the stuff you want to annex. Now, in this case, Legionary Romania declared war on Hungary, so we cannot take them. Otherwise, usually would annex Legionary Romania as well. And Bulgaria did not join the war. Otherwise, usually you can also take Bulgaria. But other than that, you can take Albania, you can take all of Germany, you can take Hungary. And then if you have an abundance of points, you can try to go after Czechoslovakia as well. But in this case, we're not going to do it. Because I want to save some points to take the navy as well. And by the way, as I was mentioning earlier, you cannot puppet anyone after becoming fascist during the war. That's a bit sad, but nothing can be done about it. And as you can see, now Czechoslovakia is back in here. Italy is a puppet of the UK. We took Albania, we took Hungary, we took Germany. And what we're going to do next is we are going to release them as a subject. So we go to occupied territories and we go to release nation, release as puppet. We do it for Albania. We're going to release Germany, we're going to release Hungary, and that's it. The other stuff in here, it's stuff that we can core later on. So now we have 3 nice puppets. Adolf, by the way, is our puppet. How amazing is that? Look at this. Nice old Adolf is still there, and he's our puppet. And we can continue with the run, but for this episode, that's all. This was already a long episode. Do not miss the next part, because again, it's going to follow the democratic strategy, but you will start seeing more and more differences with the old strategy, and you will start seeing the benefits of being a fascist, which is going to be particularly impactful in the next part of this run. Guys, if you have any questions, any doubts, feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this strategy. Did you expect our fascist USA strategy to evolve in this way? Did you expect the civil war to happen? Do you prefer to go for the civil war, and if so, why? So let me know what you thought about it. As usual, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next episode of this series. Do not miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bye, guys.